We are live. Hmm. Let's see if we can zoom in. We can, which is nice, but it's not very grainy. Whoa. Yeah, completely messed up. Oh, there it is. Oh, and you would be hearing a lot of crackling and stuff because I'm trying to adjust everything. And I'm streaming live from my phone. So, hooray for that. Alright, so the next step is to actually power it on, and I can see that the frame on YouTube is fairly cut off from the actual frame that I'm seeing. So that seems about right. See, yep, that's good enough. Alright, so we will be attempting, well, I've done it before, so it's not really attempting, but we are going to see how you do install a full build of Windows 95 on um, 6, but the catch is that you don't have ISOs or you have the ability to use CDs, and that means you have a bunch of floppies to install from, and it goes on for quite a while. And my main issue with all of that is I am in no mood to record and then edit everything uh, for that long, basically. So I'm going to do it live and we'll see where it goes. And I'm sure the quality on YouTube is absolute crap, but that's what it is. I mean, there's a lot going in the background, so the compression is going uh, all all over the place. So yes, I don't have an actual 486 CPU, but we do have an FPGA which kind of acts as a 486 CPU. All thanks to the Mr. project right there. You can see Mr. And that project enables you to run proper 486, well, not actually proper 486, but some amount of 486 on FPGA basically. So this is your BIOS which says it cannot find stuff. So we'll go ahead and mount the boot floppy. And for those who are wondering, and these are the 22 floppy files, all of them right there. And for those who are wondering, do I own a genuine copy of Windows 95? And I do. So let's reset and apply. I forgot to insert the virtual hard drive image, so that's kind of bad. I need to it, but yeah, there it is. Original Windows 95, pure Darwin shell. Not sure. I think that's the Mac kernel. I just have the kernel for some reason. But all right, back to the work and mount primary hard drive. Windows 95, and then reset now. Apply hard drive. Start computer without CD-ROM support because we don't have that, and it might kind of feel bad if we start with the CD-ROM support. And again, this is kind of running at around almost real time compared to what uh, an actual 486 would back in the day. So apart from the read and write speed from the SD card, which in that case would have been a floppy or a very slow hard drive, this is fairly the same amount of speed. So let's see if our C drive was initiated properly. So format C, I have to do that anyway. Yep, it was. So I have a 1 gig hard drive, which is a lot for back in the day. Considering that I'm running on a 486, not that I'm installing Windows 95, we had bigger hard drives then, but I am actually not sure about the quality. Could be absolute crap. How do we ensure the quality stays good? I cannot. All right, so that is done. I do now. We can go ahead and kind of insert our first floppy, and that would be disk one. So now if I type dir, I should see all my floppy disks there, and I can run setup. That would run the initial blue screen setup for Windows 95, and this is not the blue screen of death. This is the blue screen of life because that's what happened when you install Windows 95. And now we can continue with the setup, and it goes ahead and starts copying a bunch of files and takes its time. Again, at this stage, I think older systems would have been fairly slower with the file checking that just happened, the disk error checking, and this one. But since it's running a modern kind of a modern SD card, it's fine. So yes, the first look at a graphical user interface, the mouse works. Who you've just gone from us to this. It was exciting back in the day. Not that I was alive, considering that Windows 95 did release in 95. I wasn't alive back then. Anywho, continue or yeah, continue. It will ask for a new disk later on. Yep, and this is kind of the time it's actually going to be pretty slow. Pretty slow. Hello, Tectonic. What's up? Again, I am streaming from my phone, so until unless my phone overheats, this stream should go just fine. I have it powered, so power should not be an issue, and we are still at just 5%. So I guess, uh, yeah, feel free to ask questions on the chat because this is what most of it is going to be. Please insert this number too. All right, Control F12, this 2, and we'll use the mouse. Okay, it moves forward. So I don't think it asks for all the 22 disks at this stage, uh, but I'm not sure of it. I think most of it is during the copy, or it will ask for all the disks again during the copy. So it's kind of a lengthy process, honestly. Hello, I know who that is. I think. Yep, I guessed it right. What's up, man? How you doing? Hello, Omar. What's up? All right, let's do the age-old trick of placing the mouse pointer just at the. Yes, yes, I am having geeky fun as usual. It's such a long process. I didn't really want to kind of record everything because Android has this bad habit of formatting your SD cards in FAT32, and that really bugs me because then you can't have video files that are over 4 gigabyte. So if you want to have video files over 4 gigabyte, you need to run it on your internal storage, and that means you are then again limited by your internal storage, which in my case is 64. So that bums that kind of uh, that's the sad part. That's why I'm not recording it because I don't have the space to record it properly. All right, so I was right. It does not ask for all the devices. So yeah, I mean, in case of an SSD, it's not the system's not really kind of slow due to the SSD part. It's just that it's emulating the 486 in real time. I am using a SD card, which is faster than what floppies or older hard drives used to be. But if it's an SSD, I think it's similar performance. I've had this particular error before, and sadly, the only way to go around it is to start all over again. I have no idea why this happens, but it's just happened before. So if I close it, it won't close. And then what I'll have to do is to go ahead and reset. Once that is done, I need to re-enter the floppy and the hard drive and reboot. And this has happened before once, so it should be fine this time. Let's start with CD-ROM support. Maybe that's why it kind of um, weirds out. Omar, yes, Windows 98. The reason I'm not doing Windows 98 right now is the FPGA only emulates or implements 486SX, which is without the floating point unit, and 98 specifically needs the floating point unit. So that's why I've not been able to get most of the Linux OS running. I think there's one specific configuration that we need to use with the kernel, so none of the off-the-shelf work, and that's why I'm not using Windows 98 because of the missing floating point unit. So let's see, format C again. Yes. Again, I hope this works. Official Gaming TV, how are you, man? So we are just kind of, if you're not watching since the beginning, installing Windows 95 on a 486, which kind of runs at real speed, but it's not an actual 486 because it's running on an FPGA. Yeah, that's what's going on. We're just having fun. I was getting bored, and it's, I don't know, 3:50 a.m. And then enter the boot disk, the installation disk, sorry, disk 1, dir, and the setup, same old, same old. Alright, so this specific step that's happening right now, that's where an older 486 would suffer because of a slower disk speed. Alright, hope this works again. So I guess one of the things we can do while it makes us wait, because there's going to be a lot of that, is I was planning on going through. I mean, I'll do a proper video for that, but I was planning on going through. Wow, my mouse isn't working, which is weird. Oh, that must be because of the low USB power from the board. Wow, because I have a mouse that has lights in it and it just kind of weirds out. All right. I'll change the mouse. Let's see. I'll have a mouse that is wireless, so that means it's only drawing as much as the dongle does, thereby saving us some. Yep, that works. So I'm using the MX Master 2S with a system that was released back in 94 or 95 and the operating system that was released back in 95. Cool. Um, well, since you're waiting for most of the stuff to complete, let's see if I have some interesting CDs to show you guys in my collection. And there are a lot. And Vipro, if you're watching already, if you're watching still, you're going to hit this one. All right, let's enter this two first. Control F12. Right, this one's for you, Kali Linux. I know you love this one. Just kidding. And and the other one is, I don't know why I still have it, but it's kind of nostalgic at this point. Everyone had back in the day when we were still making discs and copying stuff. Neo Essentials 7, anyone remember that? Came with pretty much every other CD-ROM or CD-ROM or read-write drive, especially with the read-write drive. Um, this one is my actual uh, the motherboard that I'm using right now. It's very old. It's a second gen i3. I still have the disk for it, although I do not have a CD-ROM on that. So well, that's about that. Android on a disk, Android 4.4, that was 4.0, sorry. And that was the time I initially got started with the Android on x86 project. Uh, and that was a good time. I have a few other Android disks, so I'm not going to go through these. I showed the Windows 94 one. I have a pure Darwin Shell disk that I also showed. A couple of other OS disks from open source for you, and this was for the Core 2 Duo motherboard, which was my last PC, which I'm not sure if it died because of that, but I overclocked it from 2.5 gigahertz to 2.3 gigahertz, air cooled on a older, like on a stock Intel cooler, and it worked for about a week. And I think it then just wouldn't start for more than 15 minutes thereon. Hmm. All right, we are at license agreement. I guess we have to agree to that. Yay, we are past the error. So that means we can start the installation, which is cool. Right, Windows C. Yeah, that's where it all started. Right now it'll check for a bunch of stuff. Take some more time. Oh, this is an interesting one. I don't know if people on the chat know about, or I don't know if they still exist. You see the boss logo there? That's actually Bharat Operating System Solutions, I guess, Ministry of IT, Government of India. I don't know if the project is still alive, but yeah, at some point in time, India had its own Linux-based OS. That was cool. I think this OS probably deserves kind of a standalone video. I think this is going to come up sometime this weekend, which is nice. OpenSUSE 12. What else? Weird stuff. Jolly OS 1.2, another OS that I really like um, because this was the first kind of cloud-based OS that made sense to me, and it still does. I still think it's kind of better than Chrome OS. Um, but the project died, so that's kind of bad. And I'm pretty interested in kind of knowing your Biprodeep, your kind of view on the Boss OS back in the day. I guess I don't know if that's still alive. All right, so the next disk is kind of very close to my heart, which I'll keep um, and not show you guys until I get through the setup. So let's click on next. You have to put the OEM key. Hmm. Now you guys will have to see my face for some time. Hey, that's my face. Actually, not even my face. I'm not going to share the key because it's like a original key, and I don't want to get into the trouble. I don't care about sharing my key, but I don't want to get into the trouble of actually, yeah. All right, pressing next. Cool. Now we can go back. Hey, there we are. Um, I actually have original 95 disc. I can show you in a second. Let me just zoom back in, and it's going to be like a trip, but it wasn't so bad, I guess. Let's just, I think that should be fine. All right, for those who are asking, I actually have the key, or I googled it. I have the key, and I have the disk to show you. I'm not going to show you the uh, cover of it. This is the original Windows 95 disk. There you go. All genuine. All right, the company name is a company name, as I don't really care. Press next. I guess wait for it a bit. Right, I don't have a CD-ROM. I do have a sound or sound card. Well, the FPG implementation has a Sound Blaster card. Network adapter, I'm not sure, but I'll just um yeah, I'll just go with it. How about porting GNU to DOS? Well, I guess that would be more of a GNU to the NT kernel kind of a thing, because then R isn't DOS and GNU. The closest thing that I can think of that exists or did exist was Loadlin, which used DOS as a bootloader for Linux back in the day. So I'm not sure. I get your idea, which would be cool, but yeah, we already have. Well, yeah, that would be Linux on Windows, not really GNU on DOS. Two different things if you think about it. Would be a cool project, I guess. All right, about the disk um, that is close to me is the thing that got me hooked on Linux, and here it is. This is SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 10. I just kept the server disk. I also had the desktop disk. This is the eval version. So this is a genuine, a proper, genuine, non kind of copy. This came in a pack. I wish I still had the pack, but this is a genuine disk that contains a Linux-based OS. How cool is that? So it's from back in the day where when 512 gigs of RAM was more than enough, and so was 750 megabytes of storage space. But yeah, those days are gone, long gone. But yes, this is what got me hooked. Yeah, I mean, let's just go for the most common components. Cool. It's doing a bunch of cool stuff because there's the no, I don't want a startup disk. We don't have time for that. Yep. Now it's going to go into copying the Windows 5 disks or whatever files, and this is the time where it's going to just continuously ping me to enter to install different disks, and it's going to be hilarious, but it's going to be slow, extremely slow. Yes, you can run. All right. You're asking for Mac OS 7, or are you asking for System 7, which ran on the older Apple Macintosh computers? Because that you can run with the minivac. Um, but if you're asking for the OS X version 7 kind of a deal, then I don't think yeah, I think I'll go with what the the concerned animal says. Huh. Yeah, Macintosh was yes. You can do go and Google for MINI mini Mac VM. Is it? I'll actually have to Google it now. I think it's mini Mac VM, and that's a very teeny tiny virtual machine that pretty much runs anywhere, and you can run genuine black and white Mac OS. Even I think it supports up to System 9, if I'm not wrong. So it's totally possible. So I don't know if you guys can see. I'll try to kind of. No, it's not. You can't. All right, now you can. But it was just showing like a drum beating right where it says copying files, but the exposure got kind of wonky there. I really wish the YouTube guys had more kind of control over your mobile live stream. That would be cool, but I guess that's what it is. Hey, we are at 5%. Hmm. All right, what else? There's a bunch of Linux Mint disks. All right. Since you're talking about Mac OS X, back in the day when I still ran Hackintosh, for some time due to some issues with audio, I left it. Hackintosh OS X line, I guess that it's really old. And my favorite OS till date is not the Macintosh, of course not. Uh, is this thing called Migo 1.2. I've already done a video on this, and you can see it on my channel. I really like the user interface. I really liked that it used RPM packages, and everything about that was just great. It was a very kind of like truly revolutionized user interface, kind of merged the whole desktop and tablet thing. But I think that project got overtaken by Intel left the project, got overtaken by Samsung, and you won't believe what the thing it turned into, and it's really sad. It turned into Tizen OS. They completely scrapped what Migo was, and they made this thing called Tizen, which I still hate, partially because it kind of meant that Migo ended, and the other part of me hates Tizen because there has been a lot of security concerns about that OS, and it's on actual smartwatches. No, I do not know any Arabic word. Why would I know an Arabic word? I am from India, and I live in north of India, and I no, I don't know. Sorry. I can tell you some Hindi words if you want to know. Cool. For the seven of you watching, there's actually quite a long way to go. Hey, we are at 14. Let's keep the mouse pointer just about there, so we know when it's working properly. No, I don't. I honestly don't. Hey, it asks for a new disk. Let's go and enter a new disk, disk 3. Okay, and now it should work even better. So I guess it's kind of a good time to talk a bit about the Mister project, and how I kind of came across that. I had the DE10 Nano, FPGA board for a very long time, like a super long time. I think it's almost been more than a year now, and I never did really did a whole lot of it, like a whole lot with it because I never really was kind of into FPGAs back then. I am now, and I really love Verilog. I don't know a whole lot about Verilog, but I do learn a lot every day. In fact, today I kind of go through the process of properly using the inbuilt RAM on the iStick FPGA, but that's another story. Sorry for that. But um, yeah, the support for Clear Linux wasn't great back then and isn't great now. Did your hardware have uh, did your hardware have any kind of GPU, or was it a very old hardware, because that also kind of messes with it. So it's not exactly emulator. It's actually running on an FPGA, and what FPGA is, if you don't know, it's kind of an empty slate to design your ICs on. And like any other CPU, the 486 CPU is essentially an IC, a bunch of logic that's just etched onto the silicon, and FPGA allows you to write that as a program, or in a kind of a software manner, but still have the real-time hardware advantages of what you'd have on an actual IC. And what FPGAs are mostly used for is to prototype said ICs and then later on manufacture the actual silicon once they are final with their designs. So what we are doing here is running the 486 CPU on on an actual FPGA. So that's kind of implementing. I won't say emulating, but implementing the 486 design and running it on in real time. So the reason it can't load ISO is I have no idea why it wasn't there. I think they were trying to make it more period correct, so it would act more like a proper 486. Yeah, so the 486 design, as I said, is from the Mister project, and I was getting to that. The Mister project, it is for, so the Mister project kind of is a collection of what we call soft cores, which are basically FPGA implemented CPUs, and you have a bunch of them. And it works in a very interesting way. So I had this board lying around for a year, and I really wanted to get into retro kind of computing of that era of the 486 time. And I was hunting for 486 CPUs, which we don't really get locally here in India for some reason. And the Mister project, I came across that because I kind of figured out that you can just implement on an FPGA. So the Mister project, what it does is it runs the Cyclone 5 FPGA is kind of a special mixed design. It runs two Cortex A9 cores. It has a gig of RAM, and then it has the FPGA inbuilt, a fairly large FPGA inbuilt. So what the Mister project does is it runs the box emulator, or BO CHS is what it's called, about the box emulator, and instead of using the emulator's actual 486 software emulated kind of design, it implements the 486 in the FPGA, and kind of connects everything together through that emulator. So you have the box emulator providing the RAM from the DDR3, 1 GB RAM we have, and it then provides the interface for the Sound Blaster audio system, and then converts your VGA to the HDMI on the board, and then the audio goes through the HDMI. So everything is going through the HDMI now. It implements the PS2 mouse and keyboard design, so that means you can use your normal USB. So it's basically a virtual machine, but the actual core design, the actual 486 design, is an actual hardware implementation. So it's It's kind of complicated like that, but if you look at it, you are at the end of the day running something that's as close to the original 486 was as you'd ever get without owning the actual hardware. So even if you run the 486 in a virtual machine, you'd end up with it like running around 10 to 15% faster. So yeah, technically a hardware virtualizer, but I mean, still, I don't like to use the term virtualizer when it comes to implementing on FPGA implementation is kind of the word. You know, you implement a hardware virtualization. You means that you are kind of writing it for a CPU or something that runs more sequentially. I guess I've always found it hard to kind of before that. No, it's not really just the memory, it's the memory, the peripherals, and everything because the core is the only thing that's not getting virtualized. I think the RAM is also the actual DDR3 RAM, which the box kind of implements as SD RAM for the 486. What was it? Disk 5? All right, disk 5. Yes, so it's a very nice project. You can also do the original Mac Plus machines, so that would run your System 7, System 6, System 8, 9 images. For the a lot of the virtual the implementations in the Mister project, you actually need a what's it called, a SD-RAM module. So which actually means you are providing a RAM, an actual hardware RAM. In that case, the RAM isn't virtualized, an actual hardware RAM, and that module is kind of hard to get here. And I'm trying to figure it out how, because that opens up a lot of other machines. That means you have the Mac Plus, you have the Atari 2, you have the Amiga, you have the the Archimedes, which was the original ARM PC. Yeah, so a bunch of them. But I just need to buy that SD-RAM module, and once I have that, it should work just fine. Cool. So I guess we are at 30%. Just about done. Nah, I'm kidding. It's going to take a while still. Should probably add the link to the Mister project, I guess, because I won't be needing my keyboard anymore. I can switch it over to my PC. Move that. I hope that doesn't really affect the installation because that would be bad. Okay, let's see. Mister project, where was it? Hey, there it is. Is it using? Yes, in this particular case, it is using the 1 gig of RAM from the Altera board. In other cases, you need a specific RAM for it, otherwise, it won't work. Because I don't think for the other projects it's going to use anything close to what we have on the Altera or box or the box virtualizer. Because you don't box does only, I think, does DOS or something like that. Only only x86. So for other virtualizers, it's going to use other things, I guess. So yes, you need a separate RAM. I think this is the only one that doesn't use the SD RAM, and there are a few more. that are mostly just gaming kind of focused. So I don't really care much about them because I'm not into retro gaming as much as like I'm into retro computing in general. But um, yeah, so the most of the interesting cores do require you to have an SD RAM, and that's kind of the sad part. It's already been 40 minutes. I thought it was just going to be an hour or so, but I think we're going to go more than that, way more than that, because we're still at 31%. Where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in just installing onto a HD file and booting it? I mean, you don't get content out of that, I guess. You don't get the fun of doing it out of that because I've already done it. I mean, I could have just booted the older without formatting the C drive, and it would have booted straight into 95 because it was already installed. But then that's not the point of showing stuff. Yes, the whole point is 22 floppies. That's the first three word. Because people don't do that, and they kind of, I guess, don't realize what it was like to format systems back in the day. Because I remember I had a P3, was it? Or I, I think it was a P3, or was it not upgraded to Celeron from Celeron? So I had a Celeron upgraded to P3, and when we ended up formatting that because it was using a slower disk and like a slower CD-ROM and a slower disk, Windows XP format would last for about 3 hours. So format and install. I mean, this is fast compared to that, but then again, that was Windows XP, much larger OS. Hey, it is 7. Yes, I have worked with STM32 chips before, not at a very deep level, but with real-time operating systems. Um, Yeah, I have a couple right here. This is the STM32. This is the 100 megahertz one, I think, 80 or 100 megahertz. This is the one of the bigger ones. This is a mezzanine for one of the 96 boards. I have a couple more here which still use the STM32. Uh, Different just boards. I did a whole project with the carbon, and we called it the Carbon Rover, which was basically kind of a self-driving car based on those STM32 modules. And I honestly really love them. Really love the whole Zephyr and FreeRTOS. I've not really worked with FreeRTOS, but it's kind of the same thing because it allows you to do a very good level of multi-threaded applications um, with like really nice and granular level of kind of setting priorities and stuff like that, and having um, quite good control over your threads. And that means it you can basically make it act as a normal microprocessor and then still have a whole lot of kind of a real-time aspect to it if you really want to. And I think that's kind of really neat. That's what I love about working with STM32 or any of those kind of chips in general. You kind of at some point, I know you could really go into Arduino and write everything in assembly, and you will end up with a really good program, but you will need to work a lot towards getting the timing right. I've known people who have made kind of older 8-bit game copies or kind of lookalikes that run on Arduino Uno, which is amazing because Yeah, you can't do a whole lot of multi-threading on that. You don't have that much amount of space, that much amount of RAM, and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't. The whole point of writing everything in high-level language, comparatively high-level language like C, is that you don't have to deal with that. And STM32 kind of makes that possible, running or some form of real-time OS. Hey, we are at 40%, 41. So I'm not sure if I have. All right, let's enter diskette now. My first system did have a floppy drive. We didn't use it a whole lot, but I think at one point in time we did have a whole collection of Windows 3.1 on floppy. I think it was 3.1, and yeah, I think that was just 7 disks. Which time format am I used to the most? 24-hour time format. Or if you're asking for time zone, that kind of depends. I don't really follow my sleep pattern a whole lot, but I'm a 24-hour time format guy. 44%. It's 4:30 a.m. Ah, might mute you guys for a second. Yeah, I guess that's true. And I guess that's why I'm awake right now. And I'm sure that's why Bipro is awake right now. Yeah, I guess it's going so fast um, because I'm not running it on a actual floppy drive. I mean, even if so, the VHD file is on the SD card, the floppy disk file is on the SD card, and considering you read and write at the same speed on this particular SD card, you're getting about 5 megabytes per second one way and five the other. So, considering that each floppy disk image is just 1.4 megabytes, uh, yeah, you can do it under a second, the whole disk. So I guess it's really bottlenecking because of the 486. Hey, disk 9, 13 more to go. Nearing 50%. Still waiting for it. Come on. 50. Nope, looks like it's going to take a time. No, I don't know. There are no Intel, sorry, Intel Pentium 1 or MMX presets because that hardware design would probably be a lot larger than what could fit on the FPGA logic, and that won't work. So I don't think there are. But I I would really like to have a Pentium 1 or MMX instead of a 486 as a retro PC because a lot, even though Linux right now supports up to 486 without FPU, so 486 SX, and has only recently dropped support for 386, it would still work. But the issue is none of the off the shelf distributions would work. So you would probably need to spin up your own. So I mean, imagine like if you pick up a Fedora 28 or Ubuntu whatever 18 dot something off the shelf, it will run just fine on the Pentium 1. Of course, minus the whole graphics and everything because that would slow it down, but it will not stop it from running. Now compared with Windows, it doesn't sound that good, or even Mac for that example. I am running the 486 SX. Um, I think it's running at around 90 megahertz. So it's the 75 megahertz preset, but it runs at 90 megahertz because things are clocked a bit higher in here. Um, yeah, so it's kind of in between. It's not the DX2 had the floating point unit and the math coprocessor. The DX only had the floating point unit, but you needed a math coprocessor, and the SX had nothing. So it was basically a souped up 386, no floating point unit, no math coprocessor, and that's what I'm running, the slowest one, and that's kind of the reason it's been kind of hard to get anything other than DOS-based systems to work because I've tried older Unix system. I have tried the AT&T Unix from Bell Labs, the 486 revision, um, and then I've tried QNX. I've tried IBM OS2 Warp 4, actually all the way from Warp 1 to Warp 4. And let's see what else I've tried. Trying to remember because there was a bunch of things. Older Slackware, newer Slackware, older Debian, newer Debian. and it's just been a lot of issues running on this setup, not necessarily because I know older Debian Potato, that's Debian 2. I've been told that it works fine on a 386, but there are some issues with this particular implementation that it won't run. But I've seen only two instances of people actually writing that it runs some version of Linux. I've not really seen anyone run Linux or anyone actually kind of either booting Linux or showing a particular image that boots or showing a particular kernel config that boots. Just people say, oh, it runs Linux 4.15 or it runs Linux 3.13. Huh. Yeah, ID kind of got killed recently, I guess, because my PC prior to this one had ID and this one doesn't at all. Hey, we are at 66%, and it's been 56 minutes since we started. Still going on. There you go. ID was a funny thing. If you read into the detail, they made kind of a mistake in the implementation, and that's why if you've ever noticed the ID cable, it has a little twist to it because it was too late to revise the implementation, and the only proper workaround was to twist two of the wires in the middle of the cable. Kind of a more you know fact. And then you had to mess around with the slave and master settings all the time. Disk, disk, disk 12. Only 10 more to go, and then we'll be done. It's just running the default, I think it's called the VESA graphics or the VGA. So there's no specific graphic chip that's being implemented. It's all being rendered by the CPU, sadly enough. That kind of bogs down the CPU too, but these were simple graphics. I think it's just 16-bit, so it's not too much, and it's I think barely even to 320 by 240 or what was the resolution back in the day? 480p. I think it's lower than that. Hmm. It's I think that's on eBay US, and then there's the whole import taxes that I'm not willing to pay for now. If it comes to eBay, it's fine. I may buy it, but I'm just looking for ways that are not eBay. And even if I say import it from eBay, yeah, they are. Even if I import it from eBay and just due to my luck, it's not a working piece or it's not the thing that I that I ordered, they sent some other crap, and you're just stuck with it, or you have to pay the return shipping fee, which again that would mean you are paying way more than what you originally intended to pay for. 72%. It's going strong, I guess. Not that slow. But then again, we have just crossed the 1 hour mark, which is cool. However, talking about older operating systems to run on this, back in the day, there were a lot of attempts to kind of copy what Windows 3.1 was, and Windows 3.1 was basically just a graphics UI implementation top of DOS. It ran as an application and less like a OS. So 3.1 was not really an OS. It was a launcher of sorts, and a lot of people tried to copy that and make their own interfaces. The most kind of the one that took off was the GEOS, the GEOS, um, and that was again similar. You just ran it under uh, the DOS environment, and it worked. So that works with the Windows 90 with this particular emulation. So it would be interesting to kind of do that. Yeah, like the AGP cards. And I never really got to play with those. I think my first card was 128 megabyte one. The next one was 512. Then I think the next one I got was to specifically to play Blu-ray discs and to decode 1080p videos from those Blu-ray discs, and that was a 9600 GT. And then I now have a 960 GTX 960. So that's kind of cool. Yes, it did. And you know what? You can actually see the difference if you run Wolfenstein on DOS. It gives you that BP kind of a non-musical audio. And because 3.11 had newer drivers for especially for Sound Blaster, if you run the same Wolfenstein installation, same everything else, you just run it on 3.11, it would have proper music playing in the background. So that is something that I noticed. And if you then run the same installation on Windows 95, it would have mouse support. Disk number 14. Hey, nearing 80%. Hey, official gaming TV. Did you guys have the blood moon in Germany? I think it was visible through Europe. I'm not sure. Did you see that? Because yeah, it was so cloudy here, and then the amount of light pollution, we couldn't really see anything. And I think it's still raining, or it rained a few minutes ago. Don't jinx that. Let's just hope it's still good. Everyone had an overcast. Well, it's been sitting at 79 for a while now. Hey, finally moved. Well, then it would have been 2 or 3 hour stream with the corrupted floppies and things like that. That would be interesting. It's like a full movie of sorts. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to not have floppy disks fail on me, but yeah, I've had multiple hard drives fail on me for some reason. Absolutely not. Although, now that you talk about it, should I? I mean, what's the minimum CPU requirement? If it's 386, it will probably work. Let's see. Are there any office stuff with here on this? Cannot see. Let's Google it. Whoops. Uh-oh, I forgot my keyboard was attached to the 486. I don't have another keyboard. Funny thing, I was planning on using my wireless keyboard, but the dongle failed on me, so now I need to get a newer dongle. Hmm. Anyway, let's see. If so, the place I get my stuff from is Windworld PC. All right, this is 16, and so insert that. There you go. Let's quickly search what were the requirements for Office 97. It doesn't say it requires a minimum amount of CPU, so I guess it will work. Does it have floppies? We have floppies around 80 megabytes. So, yes, that's around 40 odd floppies. Should I or should I not do a 40 floppy installation for Office 97? Maybe that could be next week's live stream. Or if I get bored tomorrow's live stream, but I doubt I'll get bored. I have a bunch of things to do. That would be interesting. Thanks for the suggestion, Patrick. Yeah, you're giving me ideas. I'll probably do it at a similar time, maybe a bit early, but definitely after 12 o'clock my time because then that's the time when it's most quiet. And in about an hour, all hell will break loose because everyone wakes up. And that is the time you don't want to stream, especially when you don't have a proper noise cancellation microphone set up because you're streaming from your phone. Honestly don't know how the audio is. Is it low? Is it loud? Is it very disturbing? But it's I mean it's stable. It's been there for a while. The FPG implementation. It's just that it's not the one with FPU. So I mean it's a beefed up 386. So there's no FPU. There's no math core processor. So it's a 486 SX. Hey, disk number 17. And I did attach a mechanical keyboard for the key sounds. Was that period correct? And you'd get those sounds back in the day. Funny thing, I used to run the very same model of keyboard when I had the Pentium 3, and then I ran, other bunch of keyboards for a while, which would just kind of die off in 6 months to a year. So I'm back to the new old model. So the same model, but it's manufactured recently and it's made in India locally. It's a Cherry MX Blue keys. It's called TVS Gold and it's extremely cheap for a mechanical keyboard, that is. Yeah, I never really got to use those IBM Model M. I think they are recreating those now, though, but I won't count on it. 89%, nearing 90, and I'm sure it will get stuck at 89 and then ask for a new disk. What was, I think it was 95. Pretty sure it was. But I think we soon upgraded to a 98 base system and then went from XP, Windows 7. That was around the time I diverted off to Linux. Still ran Windows for most of the work, and then now I'm completely on Linux except for very specific tasks that I use uh, Windows for. I don't even use Windows 10 though. Hey, we're at 90% finally. Probably, I don't know. I used to use ARC in between, but then kind of had issues with screen recording. And once you get to the all repositories, you need to be very careful. And I then just shifted to Fedora because I think it's kind of a good balance between not having something that's too old, which kind of Ubuntu does, and it has really old packages. Fedora doesn't, but then also they test everything. Um, yeah, so just the stability and peace of mind, I guess. I'd still love to run Arc on if some PC is kind of a bit more just personal use or something like that. But yeah, if you want very extremely high level of customizability, then I think that's the time you use Arc or Arch or whatever you call it. But I used to do a lot of eye candy work with Compass and what was it? The other thing, Conky, desktop widgets, stuff like that. But I think that was a time when Ubuntu 10.10 was there, and I think I made it look completely like 100% like the OS X at that time. And that was fun. Yeah, I mean you are running on i3, but your i3 is fairly customized, I'd say. Still, not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the RAM was back in the day, but I think it was around 128, same as yours. But we might have upgraded to 512 because I did play a lot of games, and at that time I got the Pentium 3 and a newer GPU. Um, yeah, not sure about the RAM config back in the day. I never ran that. I never ran Windows 2003 or what the I think it was Millennium Edition something, or I don't know if it was just called 2003. I skipped directly from 98 to XP. I think a lot of people did. We are at 94%, which is pretty good because now it's going to just asking for all the floppies one after the other, all the remaining ones. And we are at 1 hour 20-minute mark, which is cool. What CPUs in that one, Patrick? Ah, I've seen Pentium 2 CPUs. I don't remember if it, exactly if it was Pentium 1 or Pentium 2, but there used to be the slot in ones where the whole heatsink plus the CPU was like a graphic card module, and you just slot it into the motherboard. I've seen those in person, but I've not really worked on those. Yeah, in some ways, I think that was a better way to do it because then you are not handling the package itself, but you still get the hey, we are on disk number 20, but you still get the flexibility of kind of changing the CPUs, running Windows 7 on 486. Yeah. The closest what I've tried is to run Windows 10 on a Pentium 4 device with a gig of RAM. And I mean, if you think Windows 10 runs slow, yeah, I think that was the height of it because it ran, it didn't complain, but it was so bad. Um, and the difference because that thing was running Windows 7 previously, and the difference was between uh, well being usable and between your mouse literally renders at a frame in 2 seconds or something like that. Windows 10 on R5 was a better experience, I guess. It was limited by the SD card speed because they weren't at the time weren't running on the full SD card speed because of some driver issue. But I think it was pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive to not only have it running, but the speed at which it emulated x86 programs. And that's kind of what I'm really impressed with. And I'm not the kind of person who would congratulate Microsoft on doing a good job, but yeah, they nailed it. They completely nailed the x86 emulation on ARM. think I might just adjust the camera a tiny bit because otherwise you guys won't be able to see the start bar, the start menu once it appears. So let's see how it's on. All right, maybe a little bit like that. Yeah, that should do it. Nope, it's gone again. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Tegra X1 would have pretty close to the performance of a. But uh, even if we don't talk about the Tegra X1, the work that Qualcomm has done on it, the laptops running 835 and 845 and now 850 uh, on Windows 10 on ARM, they're pretty impressive. Plus, they don't consume as much power as a x86 and they don't heat up as much. So they're really thin, really light, and they can work a lot. So I think Photoshop and some like some tools work really well on that. Although they aren't really meant to run on ARM, they are being emulated, but hey, it works. Did you guys play the new Asphalt? The Asphalt 9 seemed interesting. All right, our second last floppy, number 21. We are very close to the final disk and hope that's not bad. Surprising, my phone doesn't feel that hot, although it can get a fair bit warm if it's. Yeah, I think it's not recording in 4K. That's the reason it's not overheating right now. I'm sure there is a way, but the work needs to be done on the bootloader end for whatever reason because the Windows 10 on ARM that runs on the RPi is not specifically built for the RPi. It's the work that's done in the exactly coming to that. The works that done on the bootloader side of things that matters. And I think developer box would be the one or could be the one to run Windows 10 on um, because its UEFI bias the bootloader is very strong and very well developed. You can actually run generic ARM images on it. You don't need to have it specifically built for the developer box. So just like a PC, you take a generic ARM 64 ISO from Fedora, and it boots and it works like a regular OS should. The possible the developer box runs an ARM CPU already. Why would you need an x86 to ARM interpreter? And I think at this point we're talking about the Windows 10 on like for ARM, which is an ARM specific build of Windows 10. So we are basically running ARM on ARM. We are at 95%. Wow. And now it's getting slower. I'm not sure what I exactly want to do with it. There's no specific purpose that I'm looking to solve. It's just kind of the cool factor of it at this point. I don't have any specific work or any specific project at this time. All right, everyone, this is it. Last disc, disc number 22. Fingers crossed, Patrick. There we go. Yeah, I mean, the copying files is the last part. Back in the day, you didn't have the CPU power to extract, so nothing was really um, compressed. So copying files was kind of the end deal. It goes further into detecting and installing drivers, but I think that should be about it. Hey, we are at the 1 hour and 30 minute mark as well, and five. It's 10 past 5 a.m. Successfully been awake for more than, don't even remember when I woke up this morning. It's got to be about more than, wait, how is it 2 hours? Oh, it should be 1 hour 30 minutes because that's what I'm seeing on my phone. Oh, I think that's because uh I added the streaming now kind of a thing, or will be streaming in 15 minutes kind of a deal, 15 minutes earlier to my stream, and that's why it's showing that. Or maybe it has just rounded up. YouTube does a lot of rounding off. Not surprised. And we are at 100%. Yoo-hoo! Restart your computer. Not sure you guys can see that. See if I can make visible. Nope. 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 I cannot make that visible for you. That is sad. All right. Restart your computer and finish it up. Let's see. Okay, so we can just set the boot order to hard drive first, exit, press enter, and now it should boot from the hard drive, which it didn't for some reason. But we'll try that. Hey, booting from hard drive, starting Windows 95, getting ready to run Windows 95 for the first time. Whew. An hour and 30 minutes is not bad, I guess. So if you can see the screen flicker, it's not because the screen is flickering. It's because this tiny little Windows logo that's going blue and white is messing with the exposure, and that's kind of making it appear that the screen is blinking, but it's not. And this takes some time though. The good thing is the Mr. project does implement hard drive and floppy LEDs on the board, so you know what's happening. And we have a mouse pointer. Let's see where this goes. Hey, setting up plug and play hardware. Sure is taking its time. It's still searching, as in for what it's looking for. Yes, come on. Yeah, you should probably do it on something like a DOS box or a box, the box emulator, or specify the CPU on QEMU. Sometimes that helps as well. Use the CPU flag, and that should work for the most part because my very first video on YouTube was running Windows 95 on the original Raspberry Pi 3, the original Raspberry Pi with the 512 megagram variant I had, I think, and the 700 megahertz CPU. That was my first video on YouTube. So it should work because I've tested it with a lot older hardware, but it had a catch. We had to build the QEMU from source with some things modified here and there. So you might want to look into that. And more hourglass. Ah, I mean, I haven't tried it after that. I haven't tried it after the Raspberry Pi. So I have no idea what the issue might be. And now I'm genuinely tired. I'm yawning. So I just hope this gets over soon. We are still stuck at our glass, but the hard drive LED has some activity on it. So does the floppy LED. So it's doing something, but not sure what it's doing. I hope there was a verbose mode with installing 95 and it would just give you a stream of text about what it's doing. That would have been fun, but so we're stuck with this for now. Yes, of course, I have tried it. I have tried KaiOS. I was planning on doing it. The only reason I never got to it because their emulator sucks. It plain sucks. You can't go into the UI or do anything. I think it's just meant to run your own app, but it's an idea on the list. I have it on my Google Notes, and I even have the emulator installed on my Ubuntu machine. But the whole issue is that the UI is broken on that. So I was waiting if they ever ended up updating it, and it's not open source. That bugs me so much because it's a derivative of the boot to Gecko code, and which was officially called the Mozilla Firefox OS. So it's a derivative of the boot to Gecko stuff. Hey, we have something on the screen. Setting up the control panel finally. Extern OS sounds very familiar, but I'm not sure. And I can't Google it because my keyboard is attached to the virtual machine and my phone is recording it. I guess I have a laptop on the other end of the room so I can search it and see if I have any clue what extern OS is. Where is it? Extern OS. Yes, I have tried that. It has so many issues with the GPU that it's okay with running on. It's a weird setup. I'm not sure. Yes, it is. It's not exactly the browser-based one. It's the one that has a very glass-like UI. I think it's running mostly on web app. Or so yeah, it's written in JavaScript. The whole UI. So there were two revisions of very similar. Remember back in the day, I did a video with weirdos that were based on JavaScript. I think I did a couple. This was a candidate, but it would like never run on any hardware that I have. So let's continue with the Windows 95 setup. We're not setting up the time, but external OS had issues with running on specific GPUs, and that didn't work out really well at all. Um, and I think it was at that time emulator only or not emulator only or weird stuff. But oh, begin click next to continue. Okay. Actually, I don't really have to install a printer. Can I cancel that? Dun dun dun, we are in like flame. Come on, load. Yeah, I'll get to those OS. There was another one which was more interesting. Again, had the whole UI in JavaScript. The other one was interesting because it was based on the Windows kernel, or was somehow based on Windows. It used it sort of as The user space was based on Windows, and then it had its own UI implementation over it. I was more interested on that because you never get to see something like that. But anyways, Extern was again just like Kai was one of the candidates for a video, but I never really got to it. I've seen it working once. I think it never worked, and it's working. Woo! Okay. Um, do we need to register online? I don't think so. So we'll close that. Now I want to right click on my computer and show you the properties, but it shows the serial key. So I'll try and cover half of the screen and show you only what's supposed to be shown. Yep, there you can see genuine 486. There it is, 128 megabytes of RAM. The serial key is just above there. I'll try to stay clear of it and cancel. And we're there. It works. Um, let's do just one last thing and run Wolfenstein on it because I really want to do something with it, but I don't think this installation even has like it has paint, so we can run paint. That was the first thing we ever run in a computer lab. So let's see if I still remember all of it. Let's take the spray, take some color. You know where I'm going with this. My screenwriting isn't that good, but I'll make it work. Oh, I'm trying to spell Linux. It's not working out. Okay, and just for a little bit of show. Hey, I still know how to paint or run paint. I know, right? But all right, let's close that one. All right, let's have a bit of fun. I did this with the 3.1 installation as well. So save that. I think it's still saving or something. Wow, it hanged on me. For a second, it did hang on me. Background, browse. You know where I'm going. Where did I save that? I think it should be in media. Nope. Yep, that's what I'm doing. Does it even remember where I saved that? Oh, come on. See, we should be able to open up two programs at once, right? I saved it on desktop. Oh, no, I don't think so. Let's see. Oh, I did save it on desktop. Huh. Ah, there it is. Hiding there. Cool, 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 cool. Let's see. Where are you? There it is. Oh, there. Okay. Fly. Wait for it. Showing the hourglass. It's processing what it needs to do. Yay! Hey! Yeah, the one in the 3.11 installation was much better because I did it with the pencil, not the spray. But yeah, I guess this looks fine. Let's try Wolfenstein. Just before I quit, I need to insert the Wolfenstein floppy. It's just one floppy. It's not 22. It's just one small little game. And now, and this is fun actually. Installing from floppy 95. I can go here, run the install bat file, and this install file will not run on 3.1. It will run on the same DOS that 3.1 is running on, but not on 3.1. But it will run on MS DOS on Windows 95 just fine for some reason. Hey, DOS installations. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to go into the more controversial areas of the game. I'll just kind of move around a little bit. So that's installed and it's installed in C, Wolf 3D. And there it is. Oh, so you can see it takes my mouse as well, and the sound works. But I will change the view to a bigger view. It's thinking. New game. So yeah, of course, back in the day, that loading screen wouldn't take this little time. So as you can see, mouse works. I can move around. I can click to fire, and I guess that's about the mouse. Yeah, I'm moving with the mouse, which is pretty weird because none of the game these days you'll just look around and not actually move back and forth. But hey, that's 3D gaming back in the day, I guess. And yeah, audio is not bad. It's pretty good. And I'll leave it at that. It is pretty fast. It is pretty fast. Let's go back. But then again, this particular game was meant for 286, and I'm running on a 486, so don't think why that should be an issue. And see how it goes back to the MS-DOS screen. And now you can just close that, and we'll do more elements with this later because I've still to show you guys a few more tricks that are there. Um, I don't have the disk images right now. I know I should probably try do more. Quake, those are the more famous ones. Similar engine, you know, maybe in one of the upcoming streams I'll probably do that. So I guess that's about it. It's 5:34 a.m. It's almost 2 hours since I've been streaming. Uh, Thank you so much for watching and I guess keeping me entertained while I did this. Nice talking to you all. Hope to see you in some of the later streams, which I might do with the 40 floppy installation for Office 97. I don't really know whether I should hate Patrick for that or not. You know, I mean, he gave me an idea, but then I have to do a 40 flop installations. But anyways, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully today or tomorrow. No, not today. I'm not doing any other stream today. Probably tomorrow or next week. Bye bye everyone. I should probably make that the thumbnail of this video. That would be nice. Bye. Great. How do I close the stream? Bye guys.